Welcome to the Ben Don't Break podcast. We are powered by The Source, Ben's locally owned media company and weekly newspaper. This podcast is our eddy in the rushing waters of local journalism. We are glad that you are taking some of your time to listen to us chat with the people who shape our local community. Support us through our member program at bensource.com.
Thank you to our presenting sponsor, RE/MAX Key Properties, a family-owned full-service real estate brokerage specializing in residential, luxury, commercial, new construction, and ranch and land properties. Their new state-of-the-art facility at 42 Greenwood Avenue is a modern, collaborative space and the new home of the Ben Don't Break podcast recording studio.
I'm Aaron Schweitzer, publisher of The Source and producer of this podcast. Today, our guest is Todd Dunkelberg, social media star and TikTok celebrity. We'll get to that, but he is more prominently, and as most of you would know, the director of the Deschutes Public Library. He began his library career as a children's librarian after graduating from the University of Texas Library School. In 1999, he moved to Central Oregon to manage the Redmond Library and was promoted to library director in 2009. Small note, I have served on the Library Foundation, so I worked closely with Todd back in, I think it was probably 2009. It was right around when you first took over. So I will just say up front, I'm a huge fan. So this is going to be like a fan interview. And for those who pay attention to the podcast, we have switched chairs today. So I'm using the other side of my brain when I talk to Todd. So
if it helps you, we can switch.
We'll see how I'm intentionally pushing myself by sitting somewhere different. Todd, there is a University of Texas Library School?
There is.
I'm learning, devoted expressly to library.
Yes,
schooling.
library and information science.
Yeah.
Yes.
How? What year did you graduate? Unless that's going to date you too much.
Yeah, I have to think back. Different century, 1993.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how does one get from the University of Texas to Bend, Oregon?
Well, I was working in California, where I grew up, and my sister lived in Bend.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, she was trying to recruit me to come up here.
Yeah.
And a lot of people may not remember this, but that was 1998 was when the county said, we're no longer funding the library.
Yeah.
And so I came up and I stood in the bushes and peeked into the window of the downtown Bend Library because it was closed. And I told her if they ever get money, I'll think about moving here. And they got a district measure passed, so we became a special district. And that opened a lot of hiring, and I was lucky enough to be able to come up here.
Yeah, I was 1 year. We had just started publishing. We had been maybe a year into publishing the paper, and I can remember not fully understanding what was happening because, if you're in any other place, a lot of times the funding of the library is tied into county or city budgets, and they don't sit independently. And that's a fascinating thing about our particular library, and probably one of the reasons it's so strong and it does so well is it's independently funded. You're a little bit outside of any of the city or county shenanigans. Yeah,
that really showed up and hit home when I became director. It was right in the middle of the Great Recession.
Yeah.
And while that impacted our budget as well, I remember saying it's bad, but it's stably bad.
Right.
We're not in a situation where somebody is saying we need to fund the sheriff's department or fire services.
Yeah.
All we can plan and adjust. So that it's been really nice.
Yeah.
It's you don't think about. I've worked in libraries where you never knew if you had funding from one year to the next, and it makes future planning impossible.
Yeah. Well, and it's an interesting thing for our community because, again, one of the other things like it is Parks and Rec here, not part of. Mm-hmm. So all of our priorities, libraries, parks, they're individually funded. And therefore not in threat the way you don't have to beat up the chief of police to keep funding the book drops,
Yes. So. I went to, when we were going out for our bond campaign, the fire department was going out for a levy.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, they have a much better message. They have much better looking workers than me. And I would have put my funding there. So we're happy to have our own district.
Yeah, that's great. You have been, since 2009, libraries have changed a lot. You guys have been very dynamic. You've just recently opened the Redmond Library,
yes,
to great fanfare and TikTok acclaim. How has that been?
It's been just wonderful. It was kind of controversial when we started it. And people didn't understand why we'd be building a big library in the middle of downtown. And from the day we opened, it was very clear that this was a needed resource in Redmond. It's such a community hub. It's one of my favorite things, because we always talk about building community, but just to stand there, and I was watching two people chatting like they've known each other for years, and then they stopped and said, oh, by the way, I live 2 blocks from here, and introduce themselves. This is where our community meets.
Yeah. I remember that from serving on the foundation and really starting. It's hard when you're not in the library ecosystem to realize that there is a library in each of the communities, and they do communicate with each other, and it's a little network. And we would go to different meetings in these different libraries, and all the stand-up people in the community would come. I remember Jim Anderson was a big part of the Sisters Library, and I got warm and fuzzies, every time you would go around. And people know, I think, that libraries are important in that, but I think it really hits home when you're involved with the library and see that connection. And the Redmond Library, for source readers in Redmond, they know that is, I think, our largest pickup. It does so many, of course, they're readers, but also there's just so many people going in and out of the library. And I think in this digital age, people forget that, but it's a hub, and I'm glad. And it looks gorgeous. It's just a gorgeous building. It's part of that whole Redmond doing the right thing. So yeah, well, congratulations. Redmond has a way of just cutting through a lot of the chatter and just doing the right thing. You go down to that center area where City Hall has been renovated and the park has been renovated and the library's there now. It's not unlike what Bend has in that central core, but they seem to do it even in the face of opposition.
Yeah, it was a pleasure developing that building in Redmond. Yeah. There were a lot of support from the city. At one point, I got all prepared to come to them and give them all the arguments of why we needed to be there.
Yeah.
And they started the meeting by giving me all the arguments of why we needed to be there. And that was just such a revelation for me. So.
Yeah, that's great. But since, I think 2009, I'll keep going back to that starting point. The role of the library has changed. And certainly, I live and breathe digital transformation. Library is no different. Maybe just speak to some of the things that, since you become, director, that the changes that have happened. Because I think in some people's mind, they're going to go in and they're going to pull out their library card and get their book, and that's the extent of it. And that's not really, that's a big part of it, but it certainly has changed.
Yeah, it's just as you started saying, when I graduated, a lot has changed there. And really, we were, we used to be kind of the gatekeepers to information. Yeah. And I always think of it as kind of like the Wizard of Oz. You had to approach us at the desk and ask for information, we may impart it to you. And
as long as you didn't have a lot of fines.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's a part of that gatekeeper piece. And that really is obviously shifted.
Right.
I will say it was very fun doing that, where we'd get calls from people who'd be like, "Hey, I'm at a bar, and we're debating who won the World Series in 1963 and how many games." And you can imagine that never happens now. Somebody just picks up their phone and figures it out.
But then the librarian would help them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that really shifted a lot of our role.
Yeah.
And I think in a really good way. I don't think it was a healthy dynamic. Yeah. Even what you're talking about with fines, is there were many barriers to be able to get access.
Yeah.
We have dropped fines, really realizing that there are plenty of studies that showed the books come back anyway.
Yeah.
And really what we ended up doing was really pushing away people that maybe couldn't afford it. To be able to get a 10-cent fine was enough that, maybe the parents would say, you can no longer use libraries.
Right.
And so that's just a good example of us being really conscious about making sure that we're working alongside people to welcome them into their library, and not being, the guardian of everything that happens.
Yeah, I think you were probably pushing away a lot of the people who don't clean under their bed, and then they would look, and there would be 3 library books under there, and that your mom would pull out and go, "You're paying for this," and you'd have to troop down there with your books, tail between your legs.
Oh yeah. And
so, but you guys also do a lot now with you have do you have 3D printer?
Yes.
There's a lot of crazy kind of stuff like that going on.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of an interesting one. Before we did this bond project, we went out and we talked to about 7,000 people across the community. And we didn't just hold meetings in the library, but we would go stand in front of Walmart and ask people what they were trying to get people that didn't traditionally use library.
Right.
And asked what they wanted. And a creative makerspace type space is something that came up, like having 3D printers.
Sure.
Having co-working spaces, kind of think of for remote workers, or a place where you can plop down and start working, maybe have a little meeting room where you can do a Zoom call. And then also a lot of interest in meeting rooms and kids' discovery areas. And the cool thing is we've opened these buildings is, for example, that makerspace and the 3D printers, I wasn't sure how popular that would be.
Yeah.
And it's gone through the roof. It's where we've had to shift and say, wow, we've got to increase staffing in this area because so many people want this service. Yeah. And it was kind of a real validation that we did a good job of listening.
Yeah. As it's evolved, when you were doing the public process for the Bend Library, I remember, it was exhaustive. Maybe talk about that process, because I'm sure that's where you got a lot of the information. I remember luncheons, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're doing another community gathering around. Don't they have the concept yet? And it was like, not quite, a little more information. And maybe speak to that process, because I think you probably have a better comprehensive sense of what the community wants, and even the city itself at that point.
Yeah, I think a big piece, if you look at it historically, maybe every 25 to 40 years, we go out and we ask for funding. Yeah. Where you may see other organizations where every 5 years they're coming out. Yeah. And so a lot of those discussions was really wanting to make sure we got it perfectly right, because we knew this might be our only chance for the next 50 years to do something. Right.
Well, and the end result of a lot of that is the new library that's going to be opening up on 27th Street. Where are you in that process? I know the roundabout has not been opened. I was driving by that the other day. It looks like it's getting closer.
The roundabout's open.
Yeah.
The construction is due to end at the end of December.
Okay.
And then we will be spending the next 4.5 months
Stacking books.
bringing books in. Yeah.
Right.
Bringing over about 100 staff people and
Wow.
a lot of logistics to get that going.
What can people like? What's different about this library from the other libraries they might have been in? Because it's certainly bigger.
Probably like the first thing you'll see when you come in. Are some large meeting spaces. We have a community room where we can hold about 275 people, and it has a divider, so you could have two groups of people meeting at the same time. Until we built the Redmond Library, our largest meeting space was the Brooks Room in downtown Bend that only holds 80 people.
Yeah.
And actually, it originally only held 40. We expanded it. But you can imagine, we built that building when there were 30,000 people in Bend.
Yeah.
Now there's over 100,000. So this is really helping us size to our community.
Yeah.
So you'll see that piece. A really exciting piece is they'll have coffee. We're working with Thump Coffee.
Oh, wow.
To have that service in the lobby. That when we went out and talked to 7,000 people.
Megan and I are huge fans.
Yeah.
We drink too much Thump coffee, probably.
That was one where we didn't ask for that. People, they could write in things, and the number of people that said coffee. Right. So we're definitely happy to bring that.
Yeah, that's great.
And then really some of the things that kind of on a larger scale from what we've done in Redmond, where we have maker and creative spaces. It'll be 3 floors. On the top floor, the 3rd floor will be for adults. We have a space for that, dedicated for that.
Yeah.
Also more meeting space and study rooms there. And then on the 2nd floor for the kids and teens, we also have a space for that. And also, again, meeting spaces and study rooms as well, which are really, really needed in this community. There's not a lot of places to really find places to meet, and and they're free.
Right. I think that you touched on it right there at the end. I mean, a lot of these facilities and things that you're setting up, they are free. There's no obligation to come in and buy a croissant and a coffee, or, I mean, it's a pretty low threshold for a lot of these coffee shops. But then again, it's often awkward to sit and work for long periods of time next to the screeching of the cappuccino machine. So when, there has been conversation about why the library. I mean, what do you say to people who are like, is that the role of a library to provide these kind of meeting spaces? And, I know there's a lot of enthusiasm for the people who live over in that area now for what's obviously going to be a big asset. But what do you say to folks who are like, a library really should just be more like what the East Side Library was, a smaller space without any place together?
Even there, we had meeting space and a lot of, and it really built a sense of community having that space. And when we go to like the maker space or the co-working spaces, is also a realization that library is traditionally about literacy. And literacy has changed over time. Yeah. So information literacy, technological literacy is really important.
Right.
A good example is VR goggles, where I always thought that seems like something that we don't really need to have a game here. And then was reading about a medical library that was using that so that their medical students could practice surgery.
Wow.
And realizing that's literacy.
Right.
And so that's a real aspect. Being able to use a 3D printer is going to be important for somebody's job.
Well, it's also low barrier. I mean, for people who, I can't afford VR goggles. I'd love to test them out. I also can't afford, nor do I want a 3D printer, but I wouldn't mind checking that out as well. And there's certainly folks who don't have the resources that is the role of the library, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And it really, and it's kind of, you started earlier saying about changes in libraries. Yeah. Probably 30, 40 years ago, the amount of events and programs that libraries would have were pretty minimal. And that shifted a lot at the beginning of the century.
Right.
And we've really embraced that. So that's a piece that having those extra meeting spaces allows us to have those places where people can gather, learn, whether it's talking about the love of reading or learning how to play a ukulele.
Right. Now that, I don't want to push you too far down the road, but the East Bend Library is pretty much in your rearview mirror for the most part. While for the rest of the community, it's like, hey, wow, it's opening up for you. The planning and the execution of that thing happened years ago. What's the next piece? What's on the horizon? What are you planning for?
Really, our whole goal all along has been to get set up to really have a centralized library where we can actually move materials around. That was
the other part I remember about it is you have a big sorting and the books come there and then they issue forth from that library as well.
Yeah, because we circulate close to 2 million items a year, and that's a lot of movement around. Yeah. But one piece, it doesn't scale for us to do small libraries all around the community. We don't have the funding to staff that. Yeah. But in the future, we're looking at the ability to broaden out more, where we can do things like having a kiosk, think of a vending machine on steroids where you can come and check out a book or request a book and come get it out of that machine. And that's kind of one of the next steps on our horizon. We plan on getting used to this new building and seeing how it works and getting the downtown Bend Library done. And then we're looking forward to how we can serve more in the future.
Yeah. For the locations like Sun River and Sisters, are there things on the horizon that some of the listeners who live there might think about?
Yeah, well, all of those, Sun River, Lapine, Sisters, all those buildings were just completely remodeled.
Okay.
Which really, again, set us up for the future. So those buildings have all new systems. We've really made sure that we've added things similar to some of the larger spaces where we've added extra meeting spaces and study rooms.
Yeah.
And so we're in really good shape in those areas. And those people in those communities are probably saying, please don't do anything because you shut us down for a year while you did that. Let us enjoy what we have.
Right. So just prior to us coming in and sitting down to do podcasts, I was informed that the library is also really prominent on social media. I think Megan, who does the social media for the event company and our co-producer here, said you guys are, quote, killing it on social. And Sarah Daly here at Remax was saying you're a TikTok star. So got to give some insight. What is that all about?
Our staff pulled together a video for the new Redmond Library where I am taking people on a tour of the library, but using only Gen Z speech. So I could tell you more about it, but I have no idea what I actually said. None of it means anything to me, but it was kind of fun. Halfway through filming it, I thought, well, they wanted me as director to do this. And then I realized, you need an old guy.
You need someone who definitely looks like they're out of touch.
Yes. So I got to do that. And then the goal was to highlight it for people in Redmond to be able to use it. We didn't expect, we've had over 6 million views.
This video has gone international.
Yes, it's just the right level of fame for me. Once every 6 months, somebody looks at me funny and says, "You look familiar."
Yeah, well, so, Sarah did say you didn't tell me you had a TikTok star coming in for the podcast today.
Yes,
so that's great.
So we have a very creative staff doing that, and a real goal for us is so many people are moving into Deschutes County. Just to get in front of them. That we're different. A real challenge for libraries is if you keep driving by the building, whatever was in a library the last time you went there is what you think is in that building.
Right.
And so if it's been 30 years or you moved from a community where they had poor library services, you probably aren't thinking much about it. So trying to get that in people's minds.
Yeah, I think when I first moved here, the library was the little office building now. And people are like, what is that building? I was like, that was the library. That was it. You'd go in and had all the weird floors that went up and down and in some back corners. And to look at where, I don't consider that to be a really long time ago, but to see where it's come from there to here and to have maintained that sense of community, I think through all of it is pretty remarkable. We are actually out of time for the podcast. What is there anything? I know there's way more that we could have touched on, but anything in particular that you want listeners or readers to know?
Just know that we've got some exciting changes happening. Please bear with us, because as we kind of shut down services in East Bend and then downtown Bend and start moving things over, it's going to be some disruption.
Yeah.
We're trying to limit the amount of time where you won't have access to buildings, but it'll all be worth it. It'll be a pretty exciting change once we're done. I'm
looking forward to all of the comments on Nextdoor and other social media, because I know there anytime these kind of government services or services that you paid your tax dollars for, there's a lot of conversation that occurs, and I'm sure your social media staff will be entertained over the coming months. Yes. So, but it looks great, and it's certainly transformed that area. And I know I don't live over in that area, so coming over there and driving by was like, wow, it is transformational for sure. Yeah. Well, Todd, thank you for coming in and being part of our thing. I'm sure if you haven't checked out the library's TikTok page, now's your time. Now's your time to go. This has been the Bend Don't Break podcast. If you like what you've heard, go to bendsource.com, become a member, and help us create maybe some of our own viral TikTok videos, and maybe we'll collab with the public library after this. Thank you for listening and watching. You've been listening to the Bend Don't Break podcast, powered by The Source Weekly. To read, hear, and see more of what we do, go to bendsource.com.